So I have to ask, why is it do we have an unofficial Granblue Twitter? The Granblue versus Twitter has an official Twitter. It not only covers things for Japanese people, but for the English side as well. Why is it that the official Granblue Twitter, which solely only covers Japanese, not cover things for the English side as well? It's odd. It's odd because instead, we have someone who has been running an unofficial account for years, going by the name of his other Twitter handle, Vibrating Sheep, and he's exactly how he is named, one of many sheep in this community. In this video, I'm going to show why, as well as showing some things he's done towards me, because I do have some history with this person that resulted in me heavily disliking him. So to begin, he blocked me from the Granblue Twitter. And of course, as it would always, the reason revolve around Satyr again, as well as my comments and past history with this guy. A sheep makes a post of this new character who at the time of this post is unnamed, but also says the person is voiced by Manakai Wami, the person who voices Satyr. There's nothing wrong with this. However, the very moment someone sees her name, the same things I've shown in the last video start happening. This person starts referencing the same porn-forced gender nonsense about her biology, despite it not only being irrelevant to Satyr, but the very character being presented here. He has me blocked even before doing this. There's also this person here, saying, please God, no, not that character. I tell this person that he shouldn't be blaming the character's existence, but what the people do when it comes to her character instead. And this sort of thing just happens every single time. And as I've said many times, I'm just tired of it. Let me clarify something important before continuing. When you see Satyr's character, it's pretty obvious it doesn't remotely make any sense for people to be saying or thinking these things. You don't see anyone speaking about Narmaya like that. But if people spread rumors about her being biologically different, people would start looking at the character differently. And that's exactly what happened to Satyr, as well as myself, for having anything to do with the character. It reeks as a fan or any fan of her character and group to begin with, to have to deal with that. Because according to these crazy people, anything involved with the character must have something to do with genitals. Once again, on the level of Hoyoverse, except the community is niche, and people take advantage of that because they feel they can get away with it. They have a massive gender complex and I want nothing to do with it. So after I say this remark, I quote retweet the person who made that remark about Satyr. Because as I've explained, it's revolting garbage done every time. It's also to get other people doing the same things as them. And it overall makes me feel literally sick. The reason why I said this in my quote retweet is because of how Sheep acts. So one day he put out some news about the specifics of the latest new UI update to Granblue, a comparison between the old and new UI. So a person makes a post using the Persona 3 animation as his reaction image towards how people don't see what's wrong with the new UI. Sheep then comes along by and says, "Can you not share that imagery in our mentions, thanks?" And what he says here completely sets me off, for good reasons. The reasons being a part of why I don't like this person. Let's start with the most obvious. The Persona 3 GIF he used was the summon animation. Legitimately, over 1 million people has seen this animation. But on the other hand, around the time of my birthday, mind you, when Satyr was released with her new Halloween version, there was people spamming his mentions with disgusting imagery and the offensive genital spam. So you're telling me he felt a kind of way towards the ever-popular Persona 3 summon animation, but doesn't even do anything towards people acting literally revolting, trying to constantly reference bad pornography towards a character like it's a canon lore thing to mess with someone and making others uncomfortable when that isn't even relevant to the game? Why should he act on the stuff he doesn't like as a Granblue News Twitter that even the official Saigam's Twitter follows, when he allows the same gross imagery and derogatory things being present in his mentions regarding Satyr beforehand? The same guy who felt the need to speak out on Cagliostro because she gets called a trap. Additionally, on Blue Sky, he has said something completely brainless and about me. He says, I am responsible for this harassment campaign sustaining itself the way it is, when as I've shown multiple times before, it has to do with the rumor spreading. There's many examples, several. It's crazy how there's a guy with BLM in his bio when he's out here trying to contribute to harassment towards what he stands for. Or how these deranged people sent people after me on a Steam post that I created in the GBVSR forums, I made it because I felt it was going to happen again when I put out a video on Primal Beasts. I'll speak more on that in a moment. But if you look closely at the emoji count, it vastly increases after this person does this, and the forum post stays open for hours with people spamming it nonstop, trying to harass the admin to lock the post. And do you remember this guy I showed earlier in the video saying, "Please God, no, not that character"? Well, he actually was saying this to target me as well. How? Well, to get someone other than me to answer him, of course. Because the moment someone asks why he is doing that, they will begin spouting nonsense about me and the character. It's similar to this guy who creates a whole iceberg chart and then adds Satyr somewhere in there expecting someone to ask about her, so he can start doing the same things all over again to get others to do what he does. All in all, this all proves that Sheep doesn't know what he's talking about regarding this situation and is just hopping on bandwagons literally created to harass me. Some people out there like to say I make baseless accusations, but in reality, that's their way of flipping the situation. They'll try to echo the same things but never have any proof to back anything up. And if they end up having quote-unquote proof, it just will often just show me defending myself, or basically nothing at all. They do offensive things on purpose and then point the finger when someone gets upset with them. They're comparable to bots, and Sheep does nothing. There's also proof of people actually seeing the harassment as well. It has never been difficult for anyone to really see. While what Sheep says here is beyond wrong, Sheep has also only chosen to see Blunzy's side through another person and not my own, which shows how this is even further messed up. I spoke about it in the video I made regarding all the nonsensical slander Blunzy threw out about me then. Here's the context to this taken from the video.
Then there's a Discord post about me asking Sheep to ask the devs about what I wanted to ask. But since Z is such a dickhead, all he could think of is that I am asking confirmation about Satyr's male genitals, when this is not at all what had happened. What I wanted to ask Sheep to tell the devs was if the line had to do with primal cores. I asked this full well knowing it was the truth anyways, because people have been acting rather ridiculous about this and associating the lines with sexual biology. Something a lot of people didn't like. I also did this because Z's members and affiliates kept getting in my way whenever I wanted to share my video to other people. Beforehand, I spoke to a friend of mine who got me in the server in the first place. I was feeling very nervous of even asking my question in the first place because Z and his dumb server members keeps on taking my actions out of context and using it against me or misconstruing the whole story about me. I already knew he was going to say some nonsense about that situation. Because this is what they do. Because they can't get the whole lines equals sexual biology out of their heads, and I would assume the same is for Sheep. Because I felt like he took what I said the wrong way and also mentioned that the lines were vague when it isn't if you just read the lore of the game. So, when I first entered Sheep's server, a few days later from that day, I tried to warn Sheep and another mod there that something like this was going to happen. That Blunzer affiliate or member will take what I said out of context. But he wouldn't hear me out. After I got into it with Commented who was in the server, I spoke to the mod and showed what I was warning him about, but then he says he couldn't find anything wrong with what I showed him. He tells me, though, that if there's any issues, I could go to him about it. That remark clearly didn't age well, as I was kicked behind my back. I never noticed I was gone, but I was given screenshots of what was being said. Sheep tried to say I was pestering him, but it's not as though he was really hearing me out. I was kicked because of some idiot posting Z's video and speaking to Sheep or a mod about it, and they didn't speak to me at all. I tried to get people to speak to him and show him that he's making a mistake. Didn't work. After I was kicked, I tried to get into contact with him again, but I was blocked. He'd rather listen to random information instead of comparing the two things and listening to the one at the heart of the issue. There was a conversation before Sheep responded, having to do with another dude getting the wrong idea about what I wanted. But when we conversed, he understood that he had the wrong idea and he deleted his comments, just as I did after him. That's exactly why Z clipped this part off. He only wants to smear. I was told that being vague towards Sheep wouldn't get him to cooperate, but then it looked like he was starting to be vague towards me.
I truly didn't think Sheep would let someone put words in his mouth, but I guess he enjoys it when people do that. Here he is on Blunzi's post, but you cannot see it because he privated his main account. He seems so confident in his choice here, but doesn't realize Blunzi was actually banned permanently for what he did to me for half a year one time. Sheep's server was called Radiant, and at the time I was leaving servers so I can find one to chill within in peace. Given all the sexual harassment and stalking I had to put up with, it was difficult to speak to him about what I wanted, because it was like my every move was being monitored by these insane idiots over Satyr. The video I made was an outdated lore video on Satyr and Primal Beasts, but of course it gets misconstrued as genitals. People misunderstood Primal Beasts and the character, so I tried to help people better understand things. People were afraid to speak about her because of what other people did. It got rather difficult finding others who held the same interests in the same characters from Granblue that I like. That still hasn't changed. So, everything's been shown as to why I made the quote retweet and why I don't like this person, and how I was blocked. He practically enables harassment. I don't care who is annoyed at seeing me. At least people aren't trying to destroy what you like and who you are as a person for 5 years straight, trying to flip the situation on you. Who is Rex? No one answers, despite the guy blatantly giving himself away. Intersex people exist. I don't give a damn if that exists or not. That's not who or what Satyr is. Stop forcing this stupid nonsense onto me. This is the furthest thing away from a joke. Calling it a joke does not save you in any capacity. You just call it that to get others on board with harassment and get things to continue even longer. All in all, it's revolting. If you look at what this guy says here, they fully intend to spread the nonsense to other people playing Versus. It's people like this as to why this doesn't stop. It had nothing to do with me. Because even before I played the game, the character's reputation wasn't the best. Though at the same time, the rumor spreading was always the blame for this and the other things people did. Sheep would have 100% blocked this guy if he said anything back to him in defense of what he showed, if no one else came by and said Sheep was in the wrong. Because again, the community is niche and almost akin to a hive mind of strange people. Sheep has blocked other people before, so you know for sure that was going to happen. That is unless he already did that to him. You also know now why I would prefer official account management over him. Oh, there's a bot issue? I think I may prefer dealing with those over there than the obvious sexist bots with a gender complex.